Wait a minute. Are you really still driving to the garden center to buy heavy, expensive bags of chemical fertilizer? What if I told you that you are throwing away hundreds of dollars a year while simultaneously throwing actual black gold right into your kitchen trash can? It sounds crazy, but it is entirely true. Today, we are going to dive into a gardening secret that will completely change how you grow your plants. I am going to show you exactly how to build a simple plastic tunnel in just 10 minutes that will give you absolute, unlimited, free fertilizer for the rest of your life. Yes, you heard that right. It takes just 10 minutes of work, and it will feed your garden forever. We are going to harness the incredible, unseen power of nature to do all the heavy lifting for you. By the end of this video, you will know exactly how to set up this system, what mistakes to avoid, and the shocking truth about what happens underground. But before we get started, I have to ask, tell me down in the comments, how much money do you think you spend on garden soil and plant food every single year? The number might shock you. To understand why this method is so revolutionary, we need to take a quick look at the history of soil building. For centuries, farmers knew that organic waste naturally decomposes to create rich, fertile earth. This process is powered by a specific type of organism, the humble worm. The practice of using worms to break down organic matter is called vermicomposting. Traditionally, people kept massive, smelly compost piles at the far edges of their property. It required intense physical labor, constantly turning heavy, wet dirt with a pitchfork so it would not rot. But recently, brilliant organic gardeners realized something profound. Why make the compost far away and then carry it to the plants? Why not create a system where the compost is generated directly inside the garden bed, right next to the roots that need it? This sparked the invention of the worm tower, or the compost tube. It is a highly efficient, closed-loop ecosystem that operates entirely below the surface of the soil. You provide the raw materials, and an army of beneficial worms turns it into perfect plant food without you ever having to lift a shovel. So, what exactly is this secret underground system? Imagine a magic portal right in the middle of your garden bed. You drop your leftover vegetable scraps into this portal. A few days later, those scraps disappear. In their place, your plants receive a massive dose of the highest quality nutrients available on the planet. This is the core concept of a direct-to-soil composting tube. Instead of keeping a messy pile at the far end of your yard, you bring the composting process right to the roots of your plants. Think of it like setting up a 5-star dining room directly under your tomatoes. The magic happens because you are creating an environment where nature can do its best work without any interruption. Many people believe that creating high-yield compost takes months of back-breaking labor. They think you have to constantly turn heavy piles of dirt with a pitchfork. That is simply not true. By using this clever vertical method, gravity and biology do all the hard work for you. You just provide the space and the raw materials. It is the ultimate lazy gardening hack. And the best part is that it works in almost any climate and any size of garden. Let me show you how simple it is to gather what you need. Now let us talk about the supplies you need to make this happen. You probably already have most of these items lying around your garage. If not, a quick trip to the local hardware store will cost you next to nothing. You will need a piece of polyvinyl chloride pipe, commonly known as a plastic pipe. It should be about 4 to 6 inches wide and maybe 2 to 3 feet long. You will also need a drill with a wide bit and some sort of cap to cover the top of the pipe. That is literally it. There is a huge myth out there that starting an organic garden requires buying expensive tumbling compost bins or fancy liquid fertilizers. I see beginners spending hundreds of dollars on plastic tubs that end up cracking in the summer sun. Our simple pipe method completely bypasses all that unnecessary spending. Think of it like building a birdhouse. You do not need expensive tools, just a basic understanding of what the creatures need. A sturdy piece of plastic pipe will last for years underground. It will not rot, it will not rust, and it provides a perfectly safe environment. You are essentially building an indestructible underground apartment building. Let us move on to how we prepare this pipe for its new residence. The next step is where the real transformation happens. You need to take your drill and create holes all around the lower half of your plastic pipe. Imagine you are making a giant piece of Swiss cheese. These holes are absolutely crucial. They serve as the doorways for your underground workers to enter and exit. You want to make these holes about 1/2 inch to 1 inch in diameter. Drill them every few inches, but only on the part of the pipe that will be buried beneath the soil. Leave the top part completely solid. Why do we do this? Well, the worms need to be able to travel freely between the rich food inside the pipe and the soil outside. If you do not drill enough holes, the worms will be trapped, and the compost will become a soggy mess. Think of it like a busy subway station. You need multiple exits so the passengers can get out quickly and deliver the goods to your plant roots. It is a very simple process that takes maybe 3 minutes. Just secure the pipe, put on your safety glasses, and start drilling. Do not worry about making the holes perfectly even or pretty. The worms do not care about interior design at all. They just want very easy access to the buffet. Once your pipe is drilled and ready, it is time to find the perfect location. You want to dig a hole right in the middle of your garden bed or raised planter. Dig down deep enough so that all the drilled holes will be completely covered by the soil. About 1/3 of the pipe should remain sticking out above the ground. Place the pipe into the hole and pack the dirt tightly around it. Now, let me address a very common myth. Many gardeners are afraid to put a compost system directly in their growing beds. They worry that it will smell terrible and attract pests like raccoons or rats. But this specific method actually prevents all of those problems. Because the food is buried deep underground and secured with a tight cap on top, large pests absolutely cannot get to it. And because the worms break down the food so quickly, there is zero bad smell. It just smells like fresh, clean rain in the forest. Picture yourself planting a heavy umbrella pole into the sand at the beach. You want it deep enough to be stable, but high enough to be useful. By placing it right next to your plants, you are ensuring that the roots will eventually wrap around the pipe to soak up the liquid gold. Now that your structure is in place, you cannot just throw raw food into an empty plastic tube. You need to create a comfortable home first. This is called bedding. Start by tearing up some plain cardboard, newspaper, or dry autumn leaves. You want to drop a thick layer of this dry material right down to the bottom of your pipe. This is just like laying down a premium mattress in a luxury hotel room. The bedding absorbs excess moisture and gives the worms a safe place to hide and digest. Wet the paper or leaves slightly before you drop them in. You want the material to feel like a damp sponge, not a dripping wet towel. This step is often overlooked by beginners, and it leads to a lot of frustration. If you skip the bedding, the kitchen scraps will turn into a slimy, sour soup. The worms will hate it and completely refuse to move in. But with a nice fluffy layer of damp paper, you are rolling out the red carpet for them. It creates the perfect balance of carbon and air pockets. You can even add a small handful of regular garden dirt to introduce some helpful native bacteria. This sets the stage beautifully for the main event. It is finally time to introduce the stars of the show. You need to add your composting worms into the pipe. Now here is an important distinction. You cannot just use the large earthworms you find crawling on your driveway after a rainstorm. Those worms prefer to tunnel deep into the hard clay. Instead, you want to use red wiggler worms. These little guys are nature's ultimate surface eaters. They are designed to live in dense organic matter and eat their own body weight in trash every single day. You can buy a bag of red wigglers online or at a local bait shop. Just gently drop a handful of them right on top of the damp bedding inside your pipe. Think of them as a highly trained army of microscopic sanitation workers. Once they hit the bedding, they will immediately burrow down to avoid the light. It is fascinating to watch. Some people worry that the worms will just crawl away into the garden and disappear forever. While they will travel out of the pipe, they will always come back. Why? Because the pipe is where the absolute best food and moisture are located. It is their safe home base. They will commute to work in the soil and come home for dinner. Let us talk about feeding your new underground pets. This is the fun part. You can start dropping your daily kitchen waste right into the top of the tube. We are talking about banana peels, apple cores, coffee grounds, and old lettuce leaves. Just chop them up a little bit so the worms can eat them much faster. Imagine you are prepping ingredients for a healthy green smoothie. The smaller the pieces, the faster they break down into nutrients. But we need to bust a massive myth right here. You absolutely cannot put meat, dairy, or oily foods into this system. No leftover cheeseburgers or bacon grease. Those items will turn rancid, smell terrible, and attract flies instantly. Stick strictly to fruits, vegetables, and plain plant matter. Crushed eggshells are also fantastic because they add calcium to the soil and help the worms digest their soft food. Just drop a few handfuls of scraps into the pipe once or twice a week. You do not want to overfeed them at first. Wait until the last batch of food is mostly gone before adding more. This ensures a clean, highly efficient process. The worms will naturally regulate their own population based on how much food you provide for them. Maintaining the right environment inside the tube is incredibly easy, but you must pay close attention to the moisture levels. The inside of your plastic tunnel needs to stay damp at all times. Worms actually breathe through their skin. If the environment dries out completely, they will not survive. On the other hand, if it is flooded with standing water, they will quickly drown. You are looking for the perfect middle ground. It should be nicely moist. When you add wet vegetable scraps like watermelon rinds, you are usually adding enough water naturally to the system. But during a hot, dry summer, you might need to pour a small cup of water down the tube once a week. Let me give you a great mental picture. Imagine a kitchen sponge that you have just squeezed out into the sink. It is heavy and wet, but it is not dripping drops of water. That is exactly how the contents of your pipe should feel. If you ever look inside and see that it looks too wet and muddy, just tear up some dry cardboard and drop it in to soak up the extra liquid. If it looks dry and dusty, sprinkle some water. It takes about 5 seconds of observation to know exactly what your little factory workers need. So, how does this actually help your garden grow massive tomatoes and huge pumpkins? The secret lies in exactly how the nutrients are distributed. As the red wigglers eat your kitchen scraps, they produce waste known as worm castings. These castings are arguably the most powerful nutrient-dense natural fertilizer on Earth. They are packed with beneficial microbes that actively protect your plants from diseases. But the real genius of the drilled pipe method is the brilliant delivery system. The worms eat inside the pipe, and then they crawl out through the holes you drilled. They travel through the soil of your garden bed, leaving a trail of this incredibly rich fertilizer directly around the roots of your plants. It is quite literally a free, automated underground delivery service. You never have to shovel compost again. You never have to carry heavy bags of fertilizer from the store. The worms do all the heavy lifting for you, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Your plants will respond with explosive growth. Their leaves will turn a deep, vibrant green, and they will produce more flowers and fruit than you have ever seen before. It truly feels like pure garden magic. The final step for long-term success is keeping the system secure and knowing exactly when to harvest. Always keep a tight lid or cap on the very top of your pipe. This keeps out the heavy rain, prevents evaporation, and stops curious neighborhood animals from taking a peek. An old clay pot placed upside down over the opening works perfectly if you do not have a fitted plastic cap. Over the course of a few months, the bottom of the pipe will fill up with rich, dark, earthy compost. It will look exactly like expensive premium potting soil. When the pipe is nearly full, you have two great choices. You can either gently lift the entire pipe out of the ground, empty the beautiful black compost right into your garden, and start the process over, or you can just leave it there forever. Because the worms constantly carry the material out into the surrounding soil, the pipe rarely fills up completely anyway. It acts like a perpetual motion machine for your organic garden. As long as you keep tossing in your banana peels and coffee grounds, the worms will keep turning it into amazing plant food. You have successfully created a beautiful closed-loop ecosystem right in your backyard. Here is the incredible plot twist to all of this. Not only are you getting free fertilizer right now, but the health of your soil will actually compound year after year. The longer you keep this 10-minute pipe in the ground, the richer and more alive your garden becomes. You are not just feeding plants. You are building an underground city of beneficial microbes that will protect your garden for decades. You have taken everyday household trash and transformed it into absolute gardening gold, saving yourself a fortune in the process. To sum it all up, grab a pipe, drill some holes, bury it, add damp bedding and worms, and feed them your kitchen scraps. It really is that unbelievably easy. Thank you so much for watching and learning how to garden smarter, not harder. If this trick blew your mind, please hit that subscribe button, give this video a big thumbs up, and share it with a friend who loves plants. Now, I want to hear from you. Leave a comment below and tell me, what is the very first vegetable you're going to grow using your new, endless supply of free compost?